All right, news breaking right now on the terror attacks that killed dozens on 3 separate continents today. The State Department out now saying that there's actually no evidence that these attacks were coordinated. So first today in France, a man rammed a vehicle into an American-owned gas factory in southeastern France. Officials say this triggered an explosion that injured 2 people. Officials also found the severed head of the suspect's employer at the factory's entrance, along with banners with Arabic inscriptions. In Tunisia, 2 gunmen attacked 2 hotels, killing at least 28 people, wounding 36. Actually, the most recent death toll, I believe, that we're seeing on Tunisia is 37 now dead there. And ISIS is claiming that it is responsible for a suicide bombing at a Shiite mosque in the Kuwaiti capital after morning prayers, killing at least 8 people. A Pentagon spokesperson saying that it's too early to say if these 3 attacks were coordinated, but it does raise a whole lot of questions right now about just how safe we are here at home. Blake Berman, Fox Business reporter, joining us, along with Jasser, the president of American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Michael Babloni, president of Redland Strategies, and former New York State Director of Homeland Security, as well as Stratford Vice President Fred Burton, who served as a counterterrorism agent. I'll start with you, Fred. You hear all this news out today, the Pentagon saying it's not necessarily coordinated, but it does seem as though we're seeing a very heightened response, at least from ISIS, to or rather, I should say, you're seeing a heightened increase in these attacks from ISIS. Do we believe that they may have all been ISIS-related?
I think when you look at this, they're certainly ISIS-inspired, Trish. On June 23rd, the Islamic State issued a call for action, per se, and what you're seeing is something that we've written about here a lot, is leadership resistance, meaning act locally, go out and carry out an attack. And the soft targets like we saw at the hotel and the beach in Tunisia are really very simple to pull off and doesn't take a lot of planning or preparation.
Michael, the Pentagon, as I was just saying, saying that these attacks are not related, but we are obviously very worried as we head into a critical time, a holiday time. And is there anything that we should be doing? I mean, the Department of Homeland Security is saying we need to all be more vigilant. Is there anything that you'd be advising that people can do in terms of, our government making sure that we're not vulnerable at a time like this?
These types of attacks have followed a pattern that's been well established. It's small arms, it's explosives, it's the use of a vehicle. And what they're trying to do, just as it was just mentioned, get people to get engaged at a local level. What we have to be concerned about, obviously, is what ISIS does every day in terms of its recruiting worldwide. And the challenge, of course, for all security officials is we don't know who that's going to resonate with. We don't know who's going to now say, I want to get engaged. And yet, if they want to go out and use small arms and want to use explosives, that's more readily available than one would believe. So that's really the threat.
Zudi, how worried should we be?
Well, I think we should be very worried. I mean, even the question itself, is this coordinated, is old school. I mean, have we not learned anything since the evolution of ISIS? This group is not top organizational. It's bottom-up, grassroots, inspirational, where they don't care. They're not looking at big targets. They do soft targets in order to say the 3 fronts that we saw today. One front, they're able to attack the West. They are the global power that will destroy the West. 2, the main existential threat in the Middle East is Tunisia. A secular party defeated the Islamists in an election just 6 months ago. 3rd is the sectarian divide against the Shia Islamists in Iran, etc. So all 3 fronts we saw attacked today, and meanwhile we're sort of worrying whether it's coordinated. Bottom line is the infiltration of the ideology of this Islamo-patriotism is in every state, and we need to start to have a strategy.
Yeah, no, indeed we do. We're going to talk about what that strategy should be right after this. Stay with me, everyone. Blake, Zudi, Michael, and Fred. We're going to continue this conversation as we look at the growing terror threat. Meanwhile, as authorities try to determine whether the 3 terror attacks on separate continents could be. Okay, we are getting an update on some of the death tolls coming in from around the world, with terror attacks on 3 different continents happening today. Everyone, 37 are said to be reported dead in Tunisia, 2 at that chemical plant there in France, the American chemical plant that was attacked, and up to 25 may be dead now, we are learning, in Kuwait. I want to talk about each of these incidences with our terror panel here. We've got Blake Berman, Zuhdi Jasser, and Michael Babloni, as well as Fred Burton. Michael, the significance there of today is relevant in Kuwait.
They attacked during the end of Ramadan. They attacked during the morning prayer service where they knew there'd be a lot of people there. Obviously, they're attacking when people are not paying attention to what's going on around them. This is their hallmark. They pick opportunistic opportunities where they're going to go and get people when they're least expecting it. And again, soft targets.
There.
And a lot of people.
At a religious time.
Civilian, they don't care.
Did we get any kind of warning, Blake, that this might be coming?
Well, the attack, at least, so today, Trish, they're trying to figure out, obviously, the coordination here, if there was not any. The attacks came after an ISIS leader called to make the month of Ramadan a time of calamity for the infidels. So terrorism officials will certainly be looking into whether or not this had anything to do with that call, most certainly. There was also a propaganda video put out by ISIS earlier this year in which it singled out the United States, France, and Belgium. We obviously saw this first attack today happen in France at the facility of a United States company, and it happened while European leaders were meeting in Belgium. So you've got all three of those countries here involved. So you would have to imagine, Trish, not only would they look into that, which specifically singled out these countries, but also the ISIS leader who said this should be a time coming up during Ramadan, a calamity for the infidels is how they wanted to
Zuhdi, yeah,
to
how they
this.
phrased it. Zuhdi, I mean, the French, they have a real problem. We have a problem. That's very clear. But the French, you know, that's evident as we look at these attacks here today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the bottom line, we look at the jihadists that are making their way into Syria and Iraq. Thousands are coming from Europe and many from France and Tunisia and elsewhere. And, you know, the immigration issue, the bottom line, you have large populations that are fodder for the radicalization because they feel more loyal or allegiant to the Islamo-patriotism, the Islamic State, rather than to their own state. Now, having said that, there was a study by the Center for Security Policy just out this week looking at our own American Muslim population, and while the majority of Muslims are in my belief that we are primarily loyal to America and our Constitution, it's a frightening plurality of Muslims that have sympathy for the Sharia law, which is 51%. Sympathy for ISIS was 10 to 20%. So the pool that is pulling these types of radicals to exist is larger than we think because we don't have a strategy to engage Muslims to have in this holy month as we fast to take a jihad against jihad. And right now we just want to deny that there's any problem.
Yeah, no, it has become a very anti-West, anti-American movement. To that end, Fred, what should we be doing to try and change all this? I mean, as Zuhdi points out, we don't have right now.
Well, on a practical level, Trish, it's this simple. There are not enough agents like I was to surveil the number of potential suspects, and from a threat matrix perspective, trying to keep tabs on the sheer volume of the suspects running around the European continent and North Africa is a daunting task. And if you look here at home and you look at the success lately of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Forces of thwarting plots, my hat's off to the FBI here in keeping us safe.
Yeah.
And that's a global whack-a-mole program versus a domestic program or global that looks at ideology long before it becomes a whack-a-mole issue.
You worried about an increasing number of attacks here at home right now, Zuhdi, especially as we go into the 4th of July?
Absolutely, because right now they're seeing it's successful. These are, believe it or not, as horrific as these are, they're recruitment tools. So they're seeing the West bend at its knees and be fearful and all this, and we're not showing strength against it. We're not upping the ante to destroy them in Syria and Iraq. We're just sort of bending back and letting them get the notoriety that they want, and we're not engaging in Muslims to say this is not Islam, this is we're going to push back against their ideas, and we're not hearing that.
All right, thank you very much. We need to do a lot more, that's clear. Zuhdi, Fred, Blake, and Michael.